are fortunate. Literally, you are fortunate what you are experiencing in relation to the challenges that stare at us. He addressed the dwellers of the grave and he said, literally, you are fortunate. أَقْبَلَتِ الْفِتَنِ Great trials are staring at the ummah. كَقِطَعِ اللَّيْلِ الْمُظْلِمِ Like a dark night, one that is to be followed in succession by others. الْآخِرَةُ شَرٌّ مِّنَ الْأُولَى The latter worse than the former. Abu Muwayhiba says, then he held my hand. He said, Ya Aba Muwayhiba, إِنِّي قَدْ خُيِّرْتُ بَيْنَ أَنْ أَبْقَى وَأَرَى مَا يُفْتَحْ عَلَى أُمَّتِي. Do you know what, Abu Muwayhiba? I was given the choice of a prolonged life, wherein I will witness the physical, material prosperity of my nation, or the choice of hastening to meet my Creator. Abu Muwayhiba says, I was still going to intercede and say, O Nabi of Allah, accept the choice of Allah and stay amongst us, so you are part of us when that prosperity comes our way. But before I could suggest, he said, فَاخْتَرْتُ التَّعْجِيلِ I have opted for the latter one. I have opted. Abu Muwayhiba says, I realized the days were drawing closer. The moments were ticking away. ثُمَّ اسْتَغْفَرَ لِأَهْلِ الْبَقِي Then he made a lot of dua. He made a lot of dua for these people. فَانْصَرَفَ And we started returning. فَبُدِئَ بِرَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ وَجُعُوهُ الَّذِي قَبَضَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى فِيهِ We barely started returning from the graveyard, and he started feeling sick and, unusual. And he said, I'm not feeling too well. And at that stage, it was fairly early. But this was the beginning, which ultimately became terminal and led to his inevitable death. From there, we came to the house of Maymuna radiallahu anha, and he became a bit more weak. He then gathered his wives and he says, my health is not permitting. If you consent, I would like to station myself at Aisha radiallahu anha. The wives of Nabi alayhi salam, the consorts, honorably, happily consented, and the Nabi of Allah was then taken to the house of his beloved wife Aisha radiallahu anha. Aisha radiallahu anha describes it as he entered into the house, فَوَجَدَنِي أَجِدُ صُدَاعًا فِي رَأْسِي As he entered, I had a severe headache. So I held my head and I said, wa ra'sa, ya Allah, what a headache, what a headache. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, bal ana wa ra'sa. Aisha, you think you have a headache? Believe me, I have a splitting headache. I have a splitting headache. And Aisha radiallahu anha saying her headache is severe. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying his was severe. And then it prompted a discussion which commonly prompts between husband and wife, who will die between us first. So they started speaking like this here. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, well, Aisha, Allah knows best. I'm feeling sick, you feeling sick. But if you happen to go first, you have the consolation. غَسَلْتُكِ كَفَّنْتُكِ صَلَّيْتُ عَلَيْكِ وَوَارَيْتُكِ I will see your ghusl is done. I will see your kafan is done. I will perform your namaz. I will lower you into the grave. You have great consolation if you go before me. I will be by your side. So Aisha radiallahu anha said, she thought to, blend it with a sense of wit. She said, oh Nabi of Allah, is that all you will do? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, well, that's all about. I think I should be doing. What more should I be doing? She said, لَقَدْ خَلَوْتَ بِبَعْضِ أَهْلِكَ فِي بَيْتِ I'm afraid perhaps you'll take one of your other wives and sleep with them in my house. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam smiled, but it was going down. The health was deteriorating. In this time, he was then moved to the house of Aisha radiallahu anha. Many things happened in these last few days. Listen to this very attentively. And let us sit and ponder and reflect, brothers. Let us ask ourselves, Ya Allah, this were the last moments in the life of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah, what will be my last moments? Allah, where will I go? Allah, in whose lap will I die? Allah, who will be there to read my kalima? Allah, who will lower me in my grave? Anyway, he comes to the house of Aisha radiallahu anha. Briefly, I run you through the last few days. It is the month of Muharram now, the month of Safar. That is where the sickness of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam started. He dispatches while his illness started taking a toll on him, there were a lot of evil elements that exploited the situation. There were people that started laying claim to prophethood. They said, well, this prophet is on his way out. The world will be desperate for a leader. Let's seize the opportunity. So people stood up, raised their heads, and they said, follow us. After Muhammad is gone, we will lead you. In Nabi alayhi salam's fatal illness, in that condition, he dispatched certain groups and he said, go and suppress these evils. The likes of Aswad Anasi, who was a tyrant person and who had laid claim to prophethood. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam dispatched the great Sahabi Feroz Dailami radiallahu anhu, And this Sahabi returned one day prior to the death of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with victory. And Nabi Alayhi Salam was very happy and he made dua for him. And he said, Faza Feroz Daylami biqatl al-Aswad al-Anasi, that indeed he had been successful in his mission. In this last few days also, he had dispatched the group of Usama ibn Zayd radiyallahu anhu while he was on his deathbed. What had actually happened was, he prepared this expedition in the direction of a place called Ubna, which was close to Palestine. And the reason why he had nominated Usama ibn Zayd was a young boy of 17. And in that expedition was senior Sahaba, the likes of Abu Bakr and Umar. So certain other people started making nasty remarks. And they said, يَسْتَعْمِلُ هَذَا الْغُلَامَ عَلَى الْمُهَاجِرِينَ الْأَوَّلِينَ. A young boy like this is going to lead people like Abu Bakr and Umar. And this started gaining momentum. Now Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had dispatched him to go and avenge the death of his father. His father was Zayd radiyallahu anhu, who was martyred in the battle of Muta. Again, how much do we know of Islamic history? If we knew, I could have just given you a reference and your mind would run, turning the pages of history. But do we know what was the battle of Muta, where the Nabi of Allah dispatched and he made Zayd ibn Haritha the Amir. And he said, if Zayd is martyred, then Ja'far ibn Abi Talib will take the flag. And if he is martyred, then Abdullah ibn Rawaha will take the flag. As they advanced, Zayd radiallahu anhu was martyred. Ja'far radiallahu anhu took the flag, he was martyred. Then Abdullah ibn Rawaha advanced. He was one of the greatest poets that Islam has ever seen. As they advanced, you must read those couplets and you will cry. He says, Ya habbadha al-jannati waqtirabuha, tayyibatun wa baridun sharabuha, والروم روم قد دنا عذابها, كافرة بعيدة أنسابها, علي إذا لاقيتها ضرابها. Oh Jannat, how close you are, how sweet your fragrance is, how soothing your drinks are, how wonderful your breeze is. I can actually see you. And oh Kafir, I can see the enemy coming. Your time is up. Oh Allah, spare me to smite these enemies. Then he addresses himself. He tells himself, Ya nafsu ma laki takrahin al-maut. Oh my soul, what is the matter? Why are you reluctant to die? Illa tuqtali tamuti. Listen, if you're not martyred, you're still going to die. Die the honorable way. Listen, if you're not martyred, you're still going to die. Die the honorable way. Ma tamannayti faqad u'titi. Whatever you've asked Allah, He gave you. Martyrdom is staring at you, present your life. So he was martyred. Nabi alayhi salam in the throes of death told his son, Usama ibn Zayd, that you take this expedition and avenge the death of your father. People started making these comments. When he heard about this, he got very angry. He gathered the people of his house and he told them that, listen, give me ghusl and then carry me to the masjid. I need to resolve this issue before I pass away. This was in the very last days. In fact, one of these days, there are few khutbahs that he delivered. One Sahabi came and he said, O Nabi of Allah, the woman and the children are crying. So he asked, why are they crying? يَخَافُونَ أَن تَمُوتُ. O Nabi of Allah, the signs of death are becoming more and more apparent on you. So he went in the masjid. Again, he ascended the pulpit with the aid of two Sahaba. عَاصِبًا رَأْسَهُ. He had a bandage tied to his beloved head. تَخُطُّ قَدَمَاهُ. His beloved feet were being dragged because of his health that was not permitting. And then he said, listen, these Ansar stood with me in the early hours. My time is coming close to leave. فَمَنْ وَلِيَ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ شَيْئًا. Whoever takes the reins of my ummah after me, please be kind and reward my Ansar. And whoever sees any wrong of them, overlook the Ansar because of my closeness to them. Then he said, حَيَّاكُمُ. He made such dua for them. May Allah guide you. هَدَاكُمُ. رَزَقَكُمُ. May Allah favor you. And he made a lot of dua in succession for the Ansar. Anyway, he came to the masjid. He was aided by Sahaba and he sat onto the pulpit. Sahaba say that was the last we seen him on that pulpit. After that till Qiyamah, he never ascended that pulpit. Can you imagine what an emotional feeling it must have been for Sahaba? He said, Ma maqalatun balagatni an ba'dikum fi ta'miri Usama. What comments am I hearing regarding my nomination of Usama? I'm hearing some nasty things circulating by my ears. People are taking objection when I'm in the throes of death. Listen people, listen. لَإِن طَعَنْتُمْ فِي إِمَارَةِ أُسَامَةَ لَقَدْ طَعَنْتُمْ فِي إِمَارَةِ أَبَاهُ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ. If you have problem and you find fault in my nomination, I guess you had the same problem the day I nominated his father. وَإِنَّهُ لَخَلِيقٌ لِلْإِمَارَةِ. I swear by Allah, you might have your reservation, but I have my full trust in him. His father was most deserving for leadership, and now his son is most deserving. وَإِنَّهُمَا لَمُخَيَّلَانِ لِكُلِّ خَيْرٍ. And upon father and son descends every good. فَاسْتَوْسُوا بِهِ خَيْرًا. So derive every good from them. فَإِنَّهُ مِنْ خِيَارِكُمْ. Verily he is amongst the best from you. He said this and he descended. Thereafter he addressed his Sahaba. He said, listen, my